back to our rookie deep dive. We're profile yet another player. But our rookie deep dive, Troy, is where we let listeners and our social followers vote on a rookie they most want to learn more about, who's making an impact in the NHL this season. And we've been working our way through the NHL rookie leaderboard, still sort of avoiding the biggest names to
Yep.
save them a little bit later for closer to the Series 2 release. But there's still plenty of interesting players to look at. Before we get into this week's candidates, I want to run through the list of 2023-24 rookies we've already dove in on. So here's the list. Matthew Nyes, episode 80. Luke Hughes, episode 84. Devin Levi, episode 125. Matthew Coronado, 127. Dustin Wolf, 129. Ridley Gregg, 131. Marco Rossi, 135. And then last week was Matthew Poitras, episode 135. So this week's candidates, Troy.
Yes.
We did another poll on Instagram. Still running Brock Faber in there.
Yep.
Yaroslav Askarov, Bobby Brink, and then Pavel Mintyukov. And it was one of the closest weeks we've had. For I think with like an hour left, Brock Faber and Mintyukov were tied.
Wow.
And I was getting to the point where I'm like, well, what do we do if there's a tie? Do I do another poll? Do I just get to pick? Yeah, but in the end, Pavel Mintyukov came on top with 32% of the vote, followed by 28% with Brock Faber, and then Bobby Brink and Yaroslav Askarov each had 20%. So that makes this week's rookie deep dive subject, of course, Pavel Mintyukov. Now, had you ever heard of him before this season?
I think I remember reading about him in one of Corey Pronman's articles on The Athletic about the draft, and I didn't know when he was drafted, but the name sounds familiar. I've never watched him or anything. Can't tell you a thing about him on the ice.
I'm very similar to you. I think I may have seen it in like one or two articles, but really did not know much about him. And Troy, this is going to come as a great shock and surprise, but you'd never be able to guess from his name, Pavel Mintyukov, he's actually Russian.
Russian, huh? Well, I don't guess Russian or Czech, but yeah, pretty distinctive last name.
Pretty distinctive last name. He's 6'1", 192 pounds, left-handed shot, only 19 years old, a defenseman, and currently Troy plays for your Anaheim Ducks. Was the 10th overall pick, very high selection in the 2022 NHL entry draft, and was the fourth defenseman, though, taken in the top 10 picks. So a big draft for defensemen at the top of the order there. You had Simon Nemec, number 2 overall by the New Jersey Devils, David Urasek, number 6 to Columbus, and then Kevin Korchinski, number 7 to Chicago, followed by Mintyukov at number 10 for the Ducks. Prior to the NHL draft, though, of course, he was drafted by the CHL first in 2020, where he was selected 52nd overall by the Saginaw Spirit. You're a big fan. Unfortunately, though, of course, the 2020 CHL season was canceled due to the pandemic, so his career with the Spirit had to kick off in 2021-22, where he produced 17 goals, 45 assists for 62 points in 67 games played. Not bad for a defenseman. And then he started last season back with the Spirit, had 16 goals, 38 assists, 54 points, 37 games played, or in the first 37 games played, but then was traded, Troy, to the old Ottawa 67s, where in the final 32 games, he had 8 goals, 26 assists for 34 points, giving him last season a grand total of 88 points in 69 games played in the CHL between Saginaw and Ottawa. So he was drafted, then sent back to the minors, and was more than a point per game guy as a defenseman at 18 years old last year. Mintyukov made the Ducks out of training camp this season and really hasn't looked back since. Through 18 games played, he has a goal and 9 assists for 10 points, which currently ranks him 4th on the rookie scoring leaderboard for the 2023-24 season, tied with Luke Hughes, who has the exact same stats. So they both have a goal and 9 assists. And all the word out of the Ducks organization and through media and the beat writers is that the team is thoroughly impressed with Mintyukov's debut so far. and they've remarked how almost instantly comfortable he was, kind of Brock Faber-esque, where looks
Hmm.
like a seasoned veteran almost right from the get-go. Apparently, he's listening to coaching, improving quickly.
So he's
So,
the opposite of Trevor Zegras. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, yeah.
From the coaching
Oh,
standpoint?
shots fired by, I guess, by in the media by the Ducks or Kalen Addison, right, who we just shipped out.
Yeah.
As I often like to do with these rookie deep dives, I kind of dug into his scouting profile, and I found this from the Hockey Writers, where there's a great quote from Brock Otten from McKean's, I think it was like a draft service.
Hmm.
So here's what Brock says about Pavel Mintyukov. I believe he has the highest upside of any defenseman available. His small area skill is just insane for a defender. He makes plays miss on a nightly basis and loves to play deep in the offensive zone. The building blocks are there for him to develop into the type of defender who consistently produces offensively at the NHL level. Now, as a hockey card collector, it's like ding, ding, ding. I like that. But I do have a question for you. When they're talking about small area skill, is that a common sort of coaching phrase
Oh yeah.
or what does that mean?
Well, just plays in tight, pucks close to your body. Think about making moves on players or scrums in front of a net, getting getting stick on stick, all that stuff. We have in USA hockey, I'm sure they do it in Canada too. There's a huge focus on small area games, and that's exactly to work on your skill in small areas. You want to force everything into a small space and make you work on stick handling, using your body, positioning yourself in that small area because that's a lot of hockey is played in a small area. It's
Oh, yeah,
not a
it's
lot of
crowded
wide
out there.
open. It's, pucks get in the zone and now it's a scrum and all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Looking at cards, to this point, there are not any NHL uniform cards for Mintyukov. He does have a few CHL cards from the 2022-23 release. Only been 21 sales to date of any card, so not a lot of
Mhm.
activity. And so I kind of picked one out just because I thought it was sort of cool.
Mhm.
On November 13th, this Pavel Mintyukov CHL Future Heroes Red out of 99 sold for $49 US, which probably is a decent amount
Yeah,
for
that's what
a
seems like a
player
decent
like
amount.
this and a card like that. Now, as far as will he be a series 2 young gun or will he end up in extended? I have no idea. I don't really get how they determine which goes and what, but I assume he'll be in one of the releases. And for guys like this, I kind of hope they're in extended a little
Yeah.
bit just because I know series 2 will be so stacked. But
Yep.
yeah, that's Pavel Mintyukov, the upstart defenseman for the Anaheim Ducks.